My life took a turn for the bizarre about 6 months ago. I'm a delivery driver, mostly just local stuff. Groceries, takeout, the occasional awkward package for someone who clearly regrets their late-night online shopping. I like the job. It's solitary, pays the bills, and gives me plenty of time to think. Maybe too much time to think, as you'll see. It started with the pigeons. Every day, the same damn flock would gather outside the grocery store I frequented for deliveries. Nothing unusual there, right? Pigeons are everywhere. But these weren't your average city birds. They were organized. They didn't just peck randomly at the ground. They moved in patterns, almost like a choreographed dance. I know, sounds crazy. But I swear, they did. I dismissed it at first. Maybe I was just bored and projecting patterns onto random bird behavior. But then I started noticing other things. The pigeon flock was always the same size, 12 birds. Always. I started recognizing individuals. A fat one with a missing toe, a speckled one with a weirdly intense stare, one with a limp. And they followed me, not in a creepy, Hitchcockian way. But if I had a delivery in a certain area, chances were, those 12 pigeons would be somewhere nearby. Perched on a roof, strutting down the sidewalk, always observing. It was unsettling. One afternoon, I was delivering a pizza to a high-rise apartment building. I parked out front, and as I was walking inside, I saw them. All 12 pigeons, lined up perfectly on a window ledge on the 10th floor. They were staring right at me. I felt a shiver run down my spine. This was beyond coincidence. That night, fueled by cheap beer and a desperate need to understand, I started researching pigeons. I learned about their homing abilities, their intelligence, their role in historical communication. I even stumbled across some crackpot theories about pigeons being government drones. I laughed, but deep down, the seed of paranoia had been planted. Over the next few weeks, the pigeon surveillance intensified. They were always there, outside my apartment, at the gas station, even when I went hiking in the woods miles outside of town. I started documenting everything, taking pictures, writing down locations, noting their behavior. I realized they weren't just observing me, they were observing everyone. They were like feathered security cameras, recording everything that happened in their vicinity. I decided I needed to understand why. I started following them. It was ridiculous, I know. A grown man staking out a flock of pigeons. But I was desperate. One day, I saw them fly to the roof of an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. I waited until dusk, then I snuck inside. The place was a wreck, broken windows, graffiti-covered walls, the air thick with the smell of decay. I climbed the rickety stairs to the roof. And that's when I saw it. In the center of the roof, hidden beneath a tarp, was a complex array of antennas and electronic equipment. Wires snaked across the roof, connecting to a small, solar-powered generator. It looked like some kind of makeshift surveillance base. And the pigeons? They were gathered around the equipment, pecking at something on the ground. As I got closer, I realized what it was: small, metallic pellets. I picked one up. It was lightweight, smooth, and had a tiny indentation on one side. I pocketed it, my heart pounding in my chest. I left the warehouse unseen, my mind racing. What the hell was going on? Back at my apartment, I did some research on the metallic pellets. I found a forum for amateur radio enthusiasts where someone was discussing similar pellets used to track migratory birds. But these weren't for birds. They were too small, too dense. Then I had an idea. I took the pellet to a local veterinarian. I told him I found it in my backyard and was worried it might be poisonous to my dog. He ran some tests and came back with a stunned look on his face. "This isn't just any metal," he said. "This is a highly sophisticated microtransmitter. It's emitting a constant stream of data." He couldn't tell me what kind of data, but he confirmed that it was definitely transmitting something. That was it. I knew I was right. The pigeons weren't just pigeons. They were part of some kind of elaborate surveillance operation. But who was behind it? And what were they tracking? I spent the next few days trying to decipher the data being emitted from the pellet. I downloaded every radio frequency scanner app I could find, but nothing worked. The signal was encrypted, or operating on a frequency I couldn't access. Then, one night, while listening to a late-night talk radio show about conspiracy theories, I heard something that made me sit up straight. The guest, a self-proclaimed expert on government surveillance, mentioned a highly classified program called Project Skywatch. According to the guest, Project Skywatch was a top-secret initiative that used trained animals to gather intelligence. The animals were equipped with miniature transmitters that relayed data back to a central command center. The guest claimed that the program had been discontinued years ago, due to ethical concerns and technological limitations. But he hinted that some elements of the program might still be active, operating off the books. It sounded insane, but it also fit perfectly with everything I had witnessed. I started digging into Project Skywatch. I found some heavily redacted government documents online, along with scattered reports from whistleblowers and investigative journalists. The more I learned, the more convinced I became that the Pigeons were connected to this shadowy program. I decided to go public. I contacted a local news reporter, Sarah, who had a reputation for investigating controversial stories. I told her everything: the organized pigeon flock, the surveillance equipment on the warehouse roof, the metallic pellets, Project Skywatch. At first, she was skeptical. But after seeing the evidence I had collected, the photos, the videos, the veterinarian's report, she agreed to look into it. Sarah started digging, and she quickly uncovered some disturbing information. She found evidence that Project Skywatch was still active, funded through a network of shell corporations and black budget programs. She even managed to identify some of the individuals involved, former military intelligence officers and rogue scientists. We knew we were onto something big, something dangerous. We decided to publish the story. The response was immediate and overwhelming. The news story went viral, sparking outrage and disbelief around the world. People started reporting similar sightings of unusually organized animal behavior. Conspiracy theories exploded online. The government denied everything, of course. They dismissed the story as a hoax and a dangerous fabrication. But nobody believed them. Then, the threats started. Anonymous phone calls, cryptic emails, people following me in unmarked cars. I knew I was being watched. I told Sarah, and we decided to go into hiding. We found a remote cabin in the mountains and hunkered down, hoping to ride out the storm. But they found us. One morning, I woke up to the sound of helicopters overhead. I looked out the window and saw a team of black-clad soldiers surrounding the cabin. They stormed the cabin, guns drawn. They seized our computers, our phones, all our evidence. They took us into custody and interrogated us for hours. They wanted to know where we got our information, who we had been talking to. We refused to cooperate. After days of interrogation, they finally released us. But they warned us to keep our mouths shut. They threatened us with prison, with financial ruin, with worse. We knew we were in serious danger. Sarah decided to leave the country. She fled to Europe, where she continued to investigate Project Skywatch from afar. I stayed behind, determined to expose the truth, no matter the cost. I knew I couldn't trust anyone. I couldn't even trust my own government. I started working in secret, gathering more evidence, connecting with other whistleblowers and investigative journalists. I knew I was playing a dangerous game, but I couldn't stop. The truth was too important. And the pigeons? They're still out there, watching, observing, waiting. I still see them sometimes. The same 12 birds, with their familiar faces and unsettling intelligence. I don't know what they're up to. But I know they're part of something bigger, something darker than I could have ever imagined. And I won't rest until I uncover the whole truth, even if it costs me my life. The worst part? Now I see patterns in everything. Stray dogs behaving oddly, squirrels burying nuts in precise formations, even ants marching in seemingly impossible synchronicity. Maybe I'm just paranoid. Maybe I've gone completely insane. But I can't shake the feeling that the pigeons are just the tip of the iceberg. That the world is full of hidden surveillance networks, controlled by forces we can barely comprehend. And that we're all being watched. So next time you see a pigeon, don't just dismiss it as a dumb bird. Take a closer look. You never know what secrets it might be hiding. And remember, they're always watching. Always listening. Always waiting. They might be watching you right now.